Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite LifeVantage products. And I would have to say that as important as the other products are to us, if we took a family vote that included the grandchildren, they would all say this is their favorite product. And that product is Axio, our amazing nootropic. We're going to be talking later and giving you a little bit of a video about a nootropic, as well as some pretty in-depth science. But I want to tell you a little bit, sort of my pilgrimage. I'm from the deep South, Georgia. When you go to the grocery store in Georgia, especially in the South, of course you bought milk if you didn't have your own cow, but you also bought Coca-Cola. We kept at least one bottle of Coca-Cola unopened in our house at all times in case somebody got sick. So it was medicine, it was a soft drink, it could accompany a snack, it could just be afternoon break, it could be with a meal. We didn't usually get to drink any with a meal. Our Coke at our house was usually reserved by my mother for times of nausea and sickness. Growing up, I began to really like Dr. Pepper. And some of you are old enough to remember the Dr. Pepper jingle. Dr. Pepper is the friendly pepper upper. It never, never, never lets you down. Now that should have been a clue to us right then that there were some things in it, mainly caffeine and sugar, even though Coke has a reputation of having a little bit of extra something in it. Should have been a signal to us that maybe there was a something that might not be really good for our bodies, because if you remember, the cap used to have 10, 2, and 4. Those were the times of day that you should drink your Dr. Pepper. So, of course, most of us went along with the soft drink industry, and we shouldn't be surprised that within just a decade or less, diabetes to heart problems, high blood pressure, all sorts of things began to increase. And now, even some of the foremost scientists are saying soft drinks are terrible for you. And you already know that because you're a health enthusiast. So, how does this relate to our own product, Axio? Uh, Axio was introduced. I joined the company in 2010, and we got Axio in 2011. And there's just a brilliant little clip on YouTube on Axio, but it's a bit outdated, so I'm not going to play it for you this morning. But if you want to go back and watch it, you can. It's really good. Gives you a lot of good information, but it's the old packaging, the old names, and so it can be confusing. So, what we're going to do this morning is we're going to do a very brief explanation of Axio by one of our former chief scientist officers, Dr. Brian Dixon. Now, Brian is not the one that brought Axio to us. Dr. Sean Talbert, who has been decorated as the most fit CEO in America, is actually the one that brought Axio to LifeVantage and came with it for several years. And I knew him personally, as I knew Brad, and Sean and I talked quite often about Axio. He had developed it because he wanted a healthy energy drink for triathletes, because he was a triathlete, as well as for soccer kids because he had kids. And he was watching these moms let their children drink awful things on the soccer field. So Sean wanted something healthy. But then, interestingly enough, what was the basis of most of our conversations was the reports he was getting from moms whose children had ADD, ADHD, and autism, on how they perceived that Axio was helping their children not just with their behavior, but also with their learning. By that time, I had already begun introducing this, Mark, Krista, and I, to our own grandchildren. And at our house, Axio is the thing that nobody leaves home without. If Glenn and I are making a long trip, one of us will grab the plastic bag and put Axio in it. Sometimes we'll call a trip a 3 Axio trip because my husband used to fall asleep at the wheel. I'm not making this up. Ask any of our children. After Axio, about every 3 hours, he drinks an Axio. And we've not had that problem since. So I'm very grateful. With our grandchildren, they felt it helped them concentrate in school, and there's some facts to support that. The study is no longer available, but New South Wales University did a study when it first came out on academic performance. Their results showed an improvement of 30% versus a placebo for college students drinking Axio prior to a very complicated test. So it's one of those things. Why on earth would you not use it when you need mental focus, extra energy, or just a drink? Some people like to have a drink in their hands or walk around with iced tea or worse. And Axio is a perfect thing for that because it's not only nutritious, not only does it support your cells, but it also gives you calm, focused energy. So let's look at a little science, all right? First of all, I'm going to let you listen to Dr. Brian Dixon, who uh, is one of our scientist officers that he's actually the one that brought NAD to us. Um, and here he is. He's going to talk a little bit about Axio.
What is a nootropic? Simply put, a nootropic is something that supports cognitive function. Sounds great, doesn't it? Well, that's the science that's gone into Axio. Axio has been formulated to support all aspects of cognitive function. So let's walk through the ingredients and exactly how they're working to help support that cognitive function. I like to lump the ingredients into 3 general categories. 1 is nutritional support. 2 are these compounds that are actually binding to receptors on neurons to help support their function. And then lastly is antioxidant protection. So let's break these down one by one, starting with nutritional support. So what is that nutritional support that's found in Axio? We have B vitamins and magnesium. Both of these ingredients have been shown to help support cellular energy production, especially in the brain, but then also help with how the nerves are actually communicating with each other, what we call the nerve conductivity. Second, we talk about these compounds that specifically bind to neurons in the brain and in other neurons in our body. These compounds are helping these neurons work at their maximum capability. And some of them you might be familiar with, and others not so much. So let's break these down one by one. I think we've all heard of caffeine. Caffeine is an amazing compound with massive effects throughout our body. I think those of us that have ever consumed caffeine in our lives, we kind of feel awake and lively. When we drink caffeine, we really kind of come to life and we feel ready to tackle the world. Then we've got another compound in Axio called DMAE. This is designed to help support that healthy nerve function again, but again, by binding to specific receptors that are going to help that nerve conductivity work. And then the last compound I want to talk about is L-theanine. L-theanine works by complementing caffeine and DMAE, but it doesn't have that stimulatory effect that, let's say, caffeine might have. So while it's still working to support that neuronal conductivity, that neuronal function, it's going to have also a bit of a calming effect. So it's really going to help with that mental clarity, that focus that we need to tackle whatever task we might have in hand. And then the last category, the antioxidants. Because the brain is consuming so much energy, we have to make sure that we're supporting our antioxidant protection. So how are these working? So the compounds that are in Axio, the green tea, the quercetin, and the pine bark, they're working as both direct antioxidants. So that means they can go out and suck up all these free radicals and oxidants, but they're also working as indirect antioxidants. For example, these can go in and turn on the protein or the pathway NRF2. NRF2 then goes into the nucleus and flips the switches on a number of both antioxidant and detoxification genes to help support overall brain health. So I hope that helps you all understand just a little bit better all the science that's gone into Axio and the benefits that you can expect to have when you take it.
What I want to do next is I want to show you a little bit more science, just about the energy drink consumption here in America. Um, this is from PubMed.gov that you're all familiar with, and it's actually talking about energy drink consumption. It talks about the beneficial effects. It talks about the improved athletic performance. It talks about the improved cognitive focus. Um, but then it begins to go on and talk about the adverse health effects. And that's where most of us should be concerned, because you see, they start with the adverse cardiovascular effect. Now, when I was teaching in Cartersville, I think it was around 2014, they had just buried a 14-year-old boy from cardiac arrest from drinking Red Bull. So that was an audience that listened very carefully to the dangers of energy drinks. But right now, probably every one of you can name someone you know that's drinking one of these dangerous energy drinks. Now, this particular one explains that AFib, what we call AFib, has been reported in two healthy boys, 14 and 16. Then heart attacks in 17 and 19-year-olds. And sometimes when I see on TV that some athlete had suddenly died, there's two things usually three things. One, was it genital? Did he have a heart attack? I mean, did he have a congenital heart problem? Did he take a COVID vaccine? Or was he drinking an energy drink? Then there's the neurological, the psychological. It's connecting a correlation between these energy drinks and violent behavior, as well as hallucinations. Then what about gastric and metabolic? If you read through this, you can see that there's not one good thing here for health. It affects also the kidneys, the teeth. And so then they go back and they talk a little bit more about the beneficial, but their conclusion is that it can show beneficial effects on exercise. And that's why so many parents allow their teen athletes to drink these awful things. But there are detrimental health problems, especially among children and adolescents. So they mention that because these drinks are becoming more and more popular, people need to be paying attention. Well, I had wondered how many people drink energy drinks. Roughly 9 to 30% of US adults. They're saying that the highest consumption, 64% of young adults ages 18 to 24, use energy drinks, and the highest consumption is 18 to 34. Most of them consume them 3 or 4 times a week. Males are more likely to females, and residents in the southern U.S. report higher consumption. Part of that, I think, is the weather. Now, there's a lovely one I had on children. We'll have to try to add it because it seems to have disappeared. But Carol, if you have a minute, you can look up how many children drink energy drinks and be prepared to bring it up for us. Now, what does an energy drink cost? Well, if you're buying them in a case, you can probably get them as cheap as $2 and a half a can or a bottle now to $5. So some of you are thinking, what? $5 for one? Yes. I have had a man who worked in a warehouse to tell me he drank two or three a day to try to get through his job. Happened to be Red Bulls. And when I began telling him how dangerous they were, he was basically like, yeah, I got to have them, and wouldn't give me the time to explain there was a healthy alternative. So the median price is $2.74. Now, how does that compare to ours? We're going to talk about that in a minute. Carol, were you able to pull that up or not?
I did just a quick Google search and it says that 30 to 50% of adolescents consume energy drinks.
Yeah, yeah. So we're seeing this is not just a one-off where you've got a few people who are doing something dangerous. So how does this compare to us? Let's look. If you are a consultant, let's look at how much it costs for you to order. And I was speaking with someone earlier where she was doing something that you can certainly do, perfectly legal, perfectly wise, is when she had someone who wasn't quite ready to order their own, um, she would order products and then let them pay her for the product. So when we look at how much does Axio cost for a customer, we're looking at $67.49. When you divide that out, that's about $2.26 for a serving. So that's still under the price that most people would be buying something that's not healthy for them. As a consultant, it's $59.99, which basically we're going to call $60. When we divide that by 30 days, that's one a day. It's costing $2. So one of the things that you can say to people is that this particular product is not just healthy for you, it's also cheaper. And for some of you, when you're trying to build the income to pay for the products that you want, Axio can go a long ways toward doing that. A lot of our grandson's friends have started using Axio because they'd see them drinking it and they'd be like, what are you drinking? And they'd be like, Axio. Well, the lovely thing on that app is when they say, what's that? If you know how to use that app, you just send them the info. And today's youth culture is most likely going to order. But let's see about this new one. We have Axio X. Now, I don't know very much about it because I think it just became available a couple of days ago. I don't know whether it is just a new flavor or whether it's something else. But it goes on to talk about how it enhances your oxygen, your stamina, and recovery. That's good for all of us. Reliable, long-lasting energy without the crash. Steady energy, stress resilience, and cellular energy production via the microbiome. And so they've added a few things to it. You can go back and look at this amazing rhodiola. I'm glad they have it in, and some mushrooms. And look at those B vitamins. This, I'll do some more studying on this later, but this is going to be an amazing weapon in your arsenal for better health. So when you are needing a boost, and when I mainly used Axio the most was when I was traveling every 3 months. I would usually have a 10 or a 12-hour day and then teach that night. I would grab my Axio 6 minutes before my lecture, drink my Axio, my brain was back, I had the energy, and it's not the important thing that I realized so much during that time was this is not just for young people who are wanting improved athletic performance. However, we have people on our team who measured their performance before Axio and afterwards. It's also for those of us who need, at the end of the day or in the middle of the day, to have focused energy. That L-theanine is appropriated by your brain so that you can concentrate and have mental energy. So don't forget Axio when you're looking for a better way uh, for your day. Carol?